guys, I'm Rebecca. You have a chance to win this DJI FPV drone, the case, and 2 batteries. We're gonna choose one of the next 100,000 subscribers to be our lucky winner. So please subscribe, good luck, and happy FPV.
You come to my channel because you want the truth. Well, today you're gonna get it. This is the K88 Pro, and it is around $189, but in comparison with something that's around $300, this is a huge difference between this drone and something like the beloved C-Fly Faith 2S drone, which gets a really good flight time, brushless motors, 4K video, 3-axis gimbal. It has return to home and a much larger battery and flight time than the K88 Pro. It's funny that they call it a Pro because in comparison to this one is the Pro, and this is the one you should get out of the two. This is my honest opinion. In this review, we're going to do a little bit of comparison of both of these drones today. The K88 Pro, what you can get for $188 versus something that's just over $300. I almost dropped it. But it has obstacle avoidance on there, which actually does work. But is the video good enough? If you're going to spend almost $200 on a drone, it's channels like this one that will show you the big difference. When you look on a website to buy something, all the specs look great on something, but how does it actually fly? In this video, you're going to find out in comparison what you get, $300 versus $189. Let's show you the big difference, and the proof in this is always in the video, guys. You can check out the link for both of these down below. I would suggest going for the C-Fly Faith 2S version. This is the one to get. Still, in the big comparison to all these mini 3 alternative drones. Let's go ahead and get started with some K88 Pro, and then I'll show you some of the C-Fly Faith 2S version.
And we should be good to go for an auto takeoff. Try not to hit the grass there. And you can see that little robot on the very top right here. Just look at this little robot looking around, and there it sees me already like 10 feet away. Did you hear the controller beep? When the obstacle avoidance sees you, and it's looking really, really fast for anything that it might hit, and it'll beep when it gets near something. We could even test that out over near the trees over here, but it's working overtime to keep the drone safe. So I could just cruise out over the grass here. Left hand side of the throttle is going to help you increase altitude, and I'd say this one's pretty smooth. You also have speed mode to be able to change how fast it flies forward.
Okay, my friends, this is the full screen footage of the K88 Pro. This is raw footage, unedited. It's not color corrected. There is no stabilization filter on here to make it stabilized. This is just exactly what gets recorded down to the SD card, and this is what you're going to bring home after you fly the K88 Pro. And you can see there's quite a bit of stutter. That's kind of side to side jitter, and I don't really see much wavy jello, just a lot of stutter on this particular drone. Sometimes we have a lot of jello, which means it produces kind of waves in the middle of the screen, but right here it seems like it has some kind of a tune problem on the K88 Pro, and it's not very smooth. It may be the propellers that they used are pretty hard, and that will make them more durable, but it might make them more rigid and less flexible. That means that it's gonna fly not quite as smooth. And over the years, you'll notice that a lot of drone manufacturers make their props a little bit thinner, and they have quite a bit of flex at the tips. So what that does is it smooths out the flight controller and the resulting video that you get back from the drone. So that makes a huge difference when you have a little bit of a flexible prop. And I have to say the C-Fly Faith 2S props are really much thinner cord, and they do have a lot of flex at the tips. So the sensor as well is not quite as good, obviously, for $179. The K88 Pro, it has a kind of about as good as it can get sensor on here. It's not any kind of high-end sensor. You can see that the sky is blown out. I always talk about the clouds above the horizon line. If you have a really nice sensor on board, you'll see cloud definition there, and that really helps with depth of field for shooting pro cinema video, or even cinema video that you can just take home and enjoy. Now we're going to check out the C-Fly Faith 2S, and I'm going to put up both drones on the screen so that you can see it. But first, I just want you to see the big difference between the C-Fly Faith 2S brushless GPS drone, and look at that beautiful takeoff. Very smooth. You can almost see the dirt down there in the field with this drone. And now we'll put both on the screen and you can see it for yourself. And look at the clouds off in the distance with the C5 Faith 2S. You see total depth of field there. We're going to make this full screen too so you can see the Faith 2S full screen here in a sec, but I just want you to see first of all the major comparison between the C5 Faith 2S and the K88 Pro. $189 on the right hand side of the screen and around $350 on the left hand side of the screen. So around $170 price difference. This is what you'll get. I think that the pan on the C5 Faith 2S is much smoother as well. The controls are less robotic. The K88 Pro sort of feels like I'm half out of control most of the time, and it doesn't feel like the GPS really has a nice lock. Even though it does sound smooth in the air, the K88 Pro is not one that's going to attract the attention of the Karens and have all the Karens coming out after you, but it feels like I'm slightly out of control flying it. And right there, it got a little darker, and now you can see cloud definition in the sky on the K88 Pro. So those colors are pretty saturated, and I think that the sensor on board the K88 Pro, if you're looking for full saturation, that's a really nice full saturated image right there. But the jitter and that horizontal stutter is absolutely unacceptable for something that you want to take home and show to your friends. The C5 Faith 2S, again, it was a little bit of wind that day, and you can color correct a lot of this, but the K88 Pro video is almost unusable. And just a second ago on the K88 Pro right there, you can see some prop wash coming into the video. So sometimes there's a phenomenon where the prop wash will kind of get into the video. So there's quite a bit of interference on that sensor on board the K88 Pro. And I almost crashed into a tree with the K88 Pro because I was pushing full stick to the right to get it to turn around and head back the other direction, but it didn't seem to respond. And I tried multiple flight modes. The more aggressive flight mode didn't seem to give me any more control with the K88 Pro. And I really didn't fly far away because I was afraid that if I did hit return to home, that it might not come back. We did test out the C5 Faith 2S return to home at the field, the AMA field that day with that controller, and it did extremely well. It came back within 3 feet of the takeoff point. And you'll see coming up with the K88 Pro, we had quite an eventful landing. Unfortunately, we did crash the K88 Pro trying to land today. And it's a pretty tight spot right there, but the C5 Faith 2S would have handled that with no problem. And here I want you to see just full screen of the C5 Faith 2S and the big difference here. This is unedited in post. You can still see some cloud definition up there. And I have full control with this drone. We can really just kind of sit and hang out and talk while we fly this one. You can take your hands off the transmitter. It doesn't drift in space. It almost looks like it's sitting on a pole, like it's a security camera, just watching the field. That's pretty cool. And our friend the K88 Pro is drifting in space again and not really holding a proper position. I feel like the speed and the sound and the onboard brushless power system sounded pretty good for this drone, for the K88 Pro. But sounding good is not good enough for us. You need a drone to perform and land exactly where you ask it to land, not drift around in space. And that's what the C5 Faith 2S did for me. Perfect landing. And I wasn't worried about having people near me. Now the K88 Pro landing coming up here, you're going to see a very big difference here. Look, the bottom of the video just totally blacked out. There is some problem with light and darkness transitions with this drone as well. So again, the sensor's not that great. And a lot of sun glare. It could really use a polarizer on this drone. And again, more stutter. And now I was just going to walk to the side and try to bring this in between about 3 foot of grass on both sides to my landing pad, and there I lost complete control and crashed. All right, guys, now you know the difference between a $189 drone versus something like the C5 Faith for around $300. A big difference here between this drone and this drone. Biggest difference is that the camera on here has a lot of jitter, it has a lot of jello, and a lot of shake in the video. So if you're looking for a drone, I mean, for around $200, I would expect that this drone would have pretty good video. I think maybe the honest price for this drone might be around $100, honestly, because it's more of a toy grade drone. Even though it feels really solid in my hands, and it is quite durable for what it is, the camera on here is really not worth a $189 investment for this one with the obstacle avoidance on board. I would save up the extra $179 and go for something like the C5 Faith 2S, because this one flew solid, this one did not. This one has great video, this one does not. So yeah, that's the big difference there. And the controllers are completely different. The K88 Pro here controller in comparison to the C5 Faith 2S, I mean, look at the difference here. We've got super plasticky K88 Pro, as they call it, controller here, which I like the flip out kickstand antennas, but this one is a little more compact. This is the C5 Faith 2S controller, and it does hold a charge quite a bit longer than this one does. It both have internal batteries, but this one's going to get you out there about 4 kilometers, where this one's going to get you out there about maybe not even a quarter of a mile. So this one has been range tested for full-time, real-time video back to your phone with no problems out to 4 kilometers. So in my opinion, I would go with the C5 Faith 2S all day long over top of something like the K88 Pro. I think this one should be discounted even more, because this one seems to be not so great. And I do honest reviews on the channel. Guys ask me all the time, well, you showcase the best. Well, not always. Sometimes we do have some things that are on the channel that are not so great, but I'm always going to bring you the truth about all of these products and which ones you should buy, because in the past, you guys have bought the ones that I've told you about, and you've always had a great experience with them and came back and thanked me later. So now in this video, you're going to thank me again, because the C5 Faith 2S is the one to get, and it is just solid video, solid flyer, vision positioning, the return to home, everything works great, and it doesn't feel robotic on the sticks. This one feels like it's mildly out of control most of the time. So yeah, you may crash this one into a tree on accident, because it takes a while to come to a stop after you let go of the sticks. This one comes to a stop immediately. Multiple flight modes all work great. The app is well done by C-Fly, and this one's finally a home run for those guys. So you can check out the links down below for my top 5 DJI Mini alternative drones that you can get before you start flying the DJI Mini 3. This one's my top recommendation still in June 2022. Thanks again for subscribing on my channel, guys. Please do subscribe for more honest reviews, and I will keep them coming. We got some FPV drones coming up on the channel, so I will see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.